Right. Let's have a look at the first unit, Wonders of the Living World. Let's take the environment. What is the environment? What do you mean by the environment? Environment is the surrounding around us. අපි අවට තියෙන වටපිටාවට අපි කියනවා පරිසරය කියලා. The surrounding around us. So what are the things you have in the environment? Land, water bodies, houses, plants, and animals. Right? These are the things which you can see in the environment. And then when you take the components, when you take all these components in the environment, you can divide these components into two parts. How can you divide it? As living things and non-living things. Living things and non-living things. Living things are the components with a growth. වර්ධනයක් තියෙන components වලට අපි කියනවා living things. Components without a growth are known as non-living things. So non-living things don't have a growth. ඒවට වර්ධනයක් නැහැ. Right. So examples for living things are man, dog, tree, and bird. They have a growth. People have a growth, plants have a growth, and animals have a growth. Then what are non-living things? Non-living things, the things which won't grow are glass, bicycle, rock, pen, and book, right? Those are the non-living things. Then we can categorize, we can divide living things into two sections, plants and animals. What are the plants? Coconut, jack, bamboo, unagas, right? So those fall under plants. Then who are the animals? You know, fish, parrot, and snail. Then if we take plants and animals, they have different types of characteristics. What are the characteristics which plants and animals have? They can grow, they can move, and they can feel, right? They can feel, they can reproduce, they can make their own species, right? තම වර්ගය නිපදවන්න පුළුවන්. They can reproduce, and they need food and water. They need food and water, and they can breathe. They can breathe, right? They can take air in and they can send air out. And when we take non-living things, what are the characteristics of non-living things? They do not grow. They can't grow. And they can't move. They can't feel. They can't reproduce. They can't give birth to other animals. They can't give birth to their animals. They can't eat or drink. And they can't breathe. And let's have a look at organisms. We can divide organisms into three sections: plants, animals, and microorganisms. So when we take plants, they do not show locomotion. They do not show locomotion. Locomotion, what do you mean by locomotion? Animals moving from one place to another place. So plants can't move from one place to another place. They produce their own food. We call it photosynthesis. So plants which produce their own food are known as autotrophic. We call them autotrophic plants. And then how about the chlorophyll? We can see chlorophyll in plants. And how about the growth? The growth is unlimited. The growth is unlimited, right? Once they grow into a certain limit, they stop the growth. And then when we take animals, They show locomotion. Animals show locomotion. Um, Locomotion. That means animals moving from one place to another place. So animals show locomotion and they depend on other plants and animals. They depend on other plants and animals. So we call them as heterotrophic. And how about the chlorophyll? Animals, they don't have chlorophyll. And how about the growth? Growth stops when they come to a certain level. The growth stops. වර්ධනය නැවතෙනවා. certain level එකකට එක level එකකට ආවම වර්ධනය නතර වෙනවා. Right. Let's have a look at microorganisms. Who are microorganisms? Organisms that cannot be observed with the naked eye. පියවි ඇසෙන් දැක ගන්න බැරි ජීවීන්ට අපි කියනවා microorganisms කියලා. Right. So how can we observe microorganisms? We need one instrument for that. How do you call that instrument? It's the compound microscope. We need a compound microscope in order to observe microorganisms. And where can you see microorganisms? Water rotted with hay. පිටුරු පල් වෙච්ච ජලයේ අපිට දැක ගන්න පුළුවන් microorganisms. Water taken from a pond. පොකුණකින් ලබාගත් ජල සාම්පලයක අපිට දැක ගන්න පුළුවන් microorganisms. Soil පසේ දැක ගන්න පුළුවන්. air වාතය දැක ගන්න පුළුවන්. Rotten food නරක් වෙච්ච ආහාර ද්‍රව්‍යවල තියෙනවා ඉන්න පුළුවන් microorganisms. So let's have a look at the characteristics of organisms. What are the main characteristics of organisms? Growth, nutrition, movement, respiration, reproduction. Growth means the increase in size, height, or amount. You should study these definitions. What do you mean by growth? It's the increase in size, height, or amount. What do you mean by nutrition? Satisfying food requirements of organisms. Satisfying food requirements of organisms. ජීවීන්ගේ ආහාර අවශ්‍යතා සම්පූර්ණ කරනවා නම් අපි ඒකට කියනවා nutrition කියලා. Then we can divide organisms into two sections, plants and animals. So plants are the autotrophic. Plants act as autotrophic and animals act as heterotrophic. Autotrophic means plants can produce their own food. So we call them autotrophic. And animals, they depend on other plants and animals directly or indirectly. So we call them heterotrophic. And photosynthesis comes under plants. Plants producing their own food is known as photosynthesis. So for photosynthesis, they need carbon dioxide, soil, air, water, sunlight. They need carbon dioxide, air, water, soil, sunlight. And plants absorb carbon dioxide. Plants la උරා ගන්නවා carbon dioxide and they release oxygen. ඒගොල්ලෝ ඉවතට වාතයට පරිසරයට පිට කරනවා oxygen. Right? Plants absorb carbon dioxide, plants උරා ගන්නවා carbon dioxide and they release oxygen to the environment. And then look at this diagram. This is the diagram of photosynthesis. If you are asked to draw a diagram on photosynthesis, you should draw the sun like this, and you should draw some arrowheads pointing towards the plant. And this represents sunlight, and you can draw a few arrowheads pointing towards the plant. That means they take carbon dioxide and draw a few arrowheads pointing towards outside. That means the plants send oxygen out. And you can draw water drops and the roots like this. And there are some animals who depend on plants directly. කවුද මේ animals ලා ශාක මත යැපෙන animals ලා කවුද? ශාක මත විතරක් යැපෙන animals ලා animals who depend on plants directly කෙලින්ම deer, cow. අපි දන්නවා ඒක ශාක භක්ෂක සත්තු කියලා ඒගොල්ලෝ. They are herbivores. Animals who depend on plants indirectly. නොදැනුවත්ව plants මත යැපෙන animals ලා තමයි ඒ කියන්නේ animals ලා තව animals ලව ආහාරයට ගන්නවා. ඒ ආහාරයට ගන්න animals ලා ශාක ආහාරයට අරගෙන ඉන්න පුළුවන්. ශාක භක්ෂක ආහාරයට ශාක භක්ෂක ජීවීන් ආහාරයට ගන්න සතුන් වර්ග ඉන්න පුළුවන්. Right? Deers ලව cows ලව ශාක ආහාරයට ගන්න deers ලා වගේ cows ලා වගේ සතුන්ව ආහාරයට ගන්න සතුන් ඉන්න පුළුවන්. So, animals who depend on plants indirectly are lion, tiger. ඒගොල්ලෝ ශාක භක්ෂක ජීවීන්ව ආහාරයට ගන්නවා. එතකොට ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ බඩට ශාක ඇතුල් වෙලා ඒගොල්ලන් නොදැනුවත්ව අර සත්තුන් මගින්. ඒගොල්ලෝ ගිහිලා ශාක ආහාරයට ගන්නවා නෙමෙයි. ඒගොල්ලෝ ආහාරයට ගන්න ජීවීන් ආහාරයට ගත්ත ශාක ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ ඇඟ ඇතුළට යනවා. Animals who can't move but show different movements. move කරන්න බැරි. තැනකින් තව තැනකට ගමන් කරන්න බැරි. නමුත් එක තැන ඉඳලා movements පෙන්නන, චලනයක් පෙන්නන ජීවීන් කොටස් ඉන්නවා. Who are they? Sea anemone, coral polyp. Sea anemone and coral polyp. Right? So they are the animals who can't move. They can't move from one place to another place, but they show different movements by staying in the same place. And there are some plants which show sleeping movements. Right? There are some plants which show sleeping movements. What are the plants? Mimosa, Nidicumba, Albizia, Sespenia කියලා කියනවා අපි කතුරු මුරුංග වලට. ඒකට තවත් නමක් තමයි අගති. Right? Sespenia, කතුරු මුරුංග, අගති. මේ තුන දැන් අපිට කිව්වොත් right? 3 plants which show sleeping movements කියලා Sespenia, කතුරු මුරුංග, අගති කියලා ලිව්වම හරියනවද? No. All 3 means the same plant. Right? So Sespenia is one plant, and you can write Albizia, then you can write Mimosa or tamarind leaves, Siambala leaves, right? Siambala kola. And people who take artificial oxygen, කෘතිම ශ්වසනය ලබා ගන්න පුද්ගලයන් තමයි divers, කිමිදුම්කරුවෝ, climbers, කඳු නගින අය. ඒගොල්ලෝ අරන් යන oxygen tanks. Patients who can't breathe. There are some patients in the ICU who can't breathe. So for them, they use oxygen tanks. They give artificial oxygen. And keep this in your mind. Humans, we inhale oxygen. We take oxygen in and we exhale carbon dioxide. We send carbon dioxide out. We take oxygen in and we send carbon dioxide out. We inhale oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide. What do the plants do? They take carbon dioxide and they send oxygen. So from where do we get oxygen? We get oxygen from plants because they are the ones who send oxygen out. We take oxygen from plants and we send carbon dioxide for the plants so that they can absorb carbon dioxide and send oxygen out.